Chapter 4. 3 o'clock arrived, right on schedule. No way was I going out the front school doors. Weird kilt-wearing guy might be waiting. So, after grabbing homework from my locker and creeping out the art room's back door, I hurried past the tennis court and onto the sidewalk, completely avoiding the front of the school. No sign of him. Phew! I didn't like to ride the school bus home because its designated Main Street stop was right in front of Java Heaven. The students who piled out always headed straight into Mr. Darling's Coffeehouse. Never did they walk the dozen extra steps to Anna's old world Scandinavian coffeehouse. Only I walked those steps, and that always made me feel like the only kid not invited to a birthday party. Mr. Prince, our school guidance counselor, once gave a speech at an assembly about how everyone secretly feels like an outcast, even popular people. How could Heidi Darling feel like an outcast with so many people crowding into her father's shop? Sometimes I caught a ride with Elizabeth, but on Mondays she had to stay after for math tutoring. Even though I was 16, I didn't have my own car. Unlike Elizabeth, I didn't have rich parents, or any parents for that matter. Fortunately, Nordby was small enough to get around on foot or bike. Nordby is an odd sort of place. The bay is home to a small fishing fleet and marina. At the water's edge, 2 seafood restaurants balance on pilings. Main Street, which is crowded with little shops, runs parallel to the water. The buildings are brightly painted and sweetened with gingerbread trim and folk-life murals. A sign at the end of the street reads Velkommen, which is welcome in Norwegian. In its early years, Nordby was all about Norway, hence the Grandsons of Norway Hall that sits at the north end of Main Street, but over time things got mixed up. Someone built a Swiss cuckoo clock tower next to the bakery, someone erected a Dutch windmill on top of the shoe shop, someone else installed a bronze statue of a little boy in Bavarian lederhosen. I guess the city planners just wanted Nordby to look like a fairy tale town, and so it does. The downhill walk from the edge of school to Main Street usually took about 15 minutes. I passed the new Java Heaven billboard. A picture of the Darling family made of Heidi and her mother and father smiled at pedestrians' golden halos shining above their heads. Voted most heavenly organic coffee in Nordby. Who had voted? No one had sent me a ballot. We didn't have a billboard for our coffee house. My grandmother didn't do modern things like advertise, which is one reason we weren't making much money. To top that, we had unknowingly lost a coffee election. My brain went into I am such a total loser mode as I stared up at Heidi Darling's perky face. She could add billboard model to her list of accomplishments. Lovely day. Jeez. I clutched my backpack straps. The guy from the alley was standing next to me. You scared me. My apologies. His sweater was beginning to unravel along the edge and his kilt had a few grass stains. I expected someone who slept in an alley to reek, but a nice smell drifted off him. Flowery, but not familiar. He noticed me looking him over. Excuse my appearance, I'm not usually so disheveled, but I just came from a celebration in Scotland. Did you know they toss trees up there? It's a beautiful country. I hope they send me again, but I doubt they will. I stayed much longer than I was supposed to. Maybe I should have felt scared. He was a stranger, after all. A very handsome stranger. I'd never seen eyes that dark blue, the kind of blue you'd find on a chart of primary colors. When he blinked, thick lashes brushed against his cheeks. An odd sense of calm washed over me. A clump of students passed between us. A few pointed at his kilt. Nobody at Nordby High wore a kilt, not even the president of the comic book club. What do you want? I asked, calm turning into embarrassment. He folded his arms. What I want, Katrina, is to meet my obligation. Oh, you mean you want to reward me? You don't need to pay me. Pay you? I'm afraid I don't carry currency. He smiled. I'm here to give you what you most desire. Okay, weirdo alert. I pulled Vincent's slip of paper from my pocket. Do you need a place to sleep? Here's the address for a shelter. I don't think you need currency for a shelter. It's just that you can't sleep in our alley again. Believe me, if my grandma finds you out there, she'll call Officer Larson. She will. She calls him about everything. He ignored the paper. I have no plans to sleep in your alley again, but it's not my choice. My job dictates where I sleep. One day I might wake up in the Marjahan's guest bed, and the next I might find myself in the London sewer pipe. He shrugged. Fortunately, wherever I end up, I absorb the language. Makes things so much easier. Uh-huh. The guy was crazy. No matter how nice he smelled or how charming his smile, he was nuts. I shoved the paper into his hand. Well, the shelter will probably be a lot warmer than a London sewer pipe. Okay, goodbye. I quickly walked away. Don't follow me, don't follow me. Of course he followed. Once you're on a crazy person's radar, forget about it. I don't have any money if that's what you want, I said, trying to get some distance between us. What want is irrelevant. I'm here to discuss what it is you want. Could you please stop following me? But I must reward your kindness. Don't worry about it. I shifted to power walker pace. I'm not worried, but there are rules regarding these matters. Your good deed had no selfish intent behind it. That is an extremely rare occurrence. His sandals made flop-flop sounds as he matched my pace. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't ignore your unselfish good deed. They'll just keep sending me back until I reward you. Who were they? Voices in his head? There's no need. Really, it was nothing. At the intersection, I punched the crosswalk button. A car crammed with jocks drove by. Hey, it's Coffeehouse girl and skirt boy, Aaron yelled. The guy from the alley didn't seem to hear the insult. He just kept staring at me. I punched the crosswalk button 3 more times, but the walk sign didn't light up. What if he had a knife in that satchel of his? I could be in real danger. A school bus drove past filled with swim teamers on their way to a meet. Vincent smiled at me from the window, then froze in mid-wave when he noticed the guy from the alley. Would Vincent be the last witness to see me alive? The guy was still staring. If you follow me anymore, I'm going to call the police. I punched the button again. Walk. Pumping my arms, I crossed that road at record speed. If he tried anything, I'd flag down a passing car and scream, help. When I reached the sidewalk, I turned to warn him again, but he wasn't there. He had disappeared. Adjusting my backpack, I started down the steep hill, glad to have gotten rid of him. He had issues. A cold breeze carried the bay's salty scent up the hill. Winter came to Nordby in October and hung around until April. Week after week of clouds and wind was the norm. I shoved my hands into my pockets. Had that been a shadow of a ponytail next to Vincent on the school bus? What was wrong with me? Why was I worried about Heidi and Vincent? They had the swim team in common. That was it. Just the swim team. The nice thing about the Nordby High swim team was that most anyone could join. You didn't have to be a record breaker. All you had to do was swim 4 lengths of the pool without resting in between and without any kind of flotation device. So if you could do that, you were in. But if you got a side cramp and sank like a rock after the first lap like I had, then you were out, even if you had bought a brand new pair of goggles and a subscription to Swim magazine because you had hoped that swimming would be your thing. Hello. The guy from the alley was sitting on a bus bench just up ahead. When had he passed me? I just want to make it perfectly clear that I'm not following you. I'm just resting a spell. His long brown hair danced across his shoulders as the breeze kicked up. You didn't give me an opportunity to explain. My inner voice screamed, "Run! He's a freak! Get away from him!" If I had listened to that inner voice, I would have saved myself a whole lot of trouble, that's for sure. But heeding one's inner voice requires confidence, which I totally lacked. Fortunately, an older man sat on the bench reading a newspaper while waiting for the bus, so I felt safe for the moment. How do you know my name? It's part of my job. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a small black book. It was titled The Law. I'm afraid I'm not handling this well. You see, I've not been in this situation for rather a long time. I usually just deliver messages. You're a messenger? I hadn't heard of any messenger services in Nordby. That's correct. He showed me the side of his satchel. Golden letters read, Messenger Service. I decided that he was probably about my age, maybe a year older. Where did he go to school? Had he escaped from a mental institution? I looked at my watch. I've got to get to work. Wait. He leaned forward. Just listen. He opened the black book and read, If it doth come to pass that during the course of thy travels an unsolicited, unselfish act of kindness is bestowed upon thee, then thou must reward the act by granting the bestower that which the bestower most desires. He placed the open book on his lap. The pages were blank. I must obey what is written in this book. The man with the newspaper looked at the blank book, then scooted away to the far edge of the bench. Run, screamed my inner voice. If I ran, he'd probably follow, but if I let him reward me, then this crazy game might end. He could go on his crazy, freaky way, and I could get to work. It was just a few old pastries, I said nicely. They weren't worth much. You can give me that pencil and we'll call it even. I pointed to a pencil that stuck out from one of his kilt pockets. He narrowed his eyes at me, then continued to fake read from his book. Be wary, for the bestower, being neither of selfish or a greedy disposition, may attempt to persuade you that a token or a bauble would suffice. He cocked his head. A pencil? I think not. Pencils are quite common in this century. A young Hispanic woman strolled up the hill and sat between the man with the newspaper and the guy from the alley. I recognized her from the drugstore where she worked as a cashier. She set a bag of groceries on her lap. Peering over a stalk of celery, she stared at the alley guy with a shy smile. He returned the smile, then turned his attention back to me. Well, what will it be? What do you most desire? I wasn't about to tell a complete stranger that what I most desired was not to feel like a loser all the time. What I wanted was to be good at something, like Elizabeth with her art, or Vincent with his swimming. Forget good. How about exceptional? I want that pencil. I don't believe you. You're being dishonest. Fine. Then how about that book? He hugged the book to his chest. You can't have this book. It's only for messengers. Look, I don't have time for this game. I pointed to my watch. I'm going to be late. Why don't you just give me whatever you want to give me so we can both get to work? He shrugged. If I knew what you most desired, I would have given it to you already. I felt like a swimmer with one fin, going round and round and round. I'm out of here. Goodbye. But as I took a step, he jumped to his feet. This was it, the moment between life and death, the flash of a knife blade, the click of a trigger. I opened my mouth to scream. If Elizabeth were here, she'd kick him right in the balls. Should I kick him in the balls? Is it easier to kick a guy in the balls if he's wearing a kilt? The man with the newspaper tensed. The woman with the groceries clutched her bag tightly. But he didn't attack. He just scratched his head. All right, then. If you won't tell me, I'll figure it out myself. His gaze swept my body. You appear to be dressed in the same fashion as the other students whom I observed at your school. Nothing out of the ordinary. So I'm guessing that you consider yourself to be an average sort of person. He was getting on my nerves. Please hurry up. Being an average sort of person, you probably desire the same thing that other average people desire. Whatever. Grandma Anna would start to worry. She'd probably call Officer Larson, which might be a good thing considering the circumstances. He fanned the pages of his book, looking for something. Now, what does the average person desire? That is the question. The Hispanic woman spoke. I think that it is peace for the world. Alley Guy shook his head. Only a few ask for world peace, and they are as rare as a sunny day in Nordby. There's a chart in here somewhere. Here it is. He ran his finger down a page. I should have known. Fortune is what most people desire. He returned the book to his satchel and looked at me, his eyes widening hopefully. Is that what you most desire, Katrina? Do you want fortune? Play the game. Get rid of the crazy guy. Fine, I'll take it. I stepped away as he fumbled in his pockets. Now find the perfect object in which to contain the desire. He pulled out a roll of twine, a handful of bottle caps, all sorts of junk. Then he pulled out the packet of chocolate-covered coffee beans. A wee bean will do. That's what we say in Scotland, you know, wee this and wee that. Would you be liking a wee bit of magic with your coffee bean, lassie? Smiling, he shook a single bean onto his open palm. The woman leaned close. A coffee bean? I love coffee, but so expensive. I do not buy. I'm sorry to hear that, he told her. Then he pinched the bean between his fingers and held it at an arm's length, way too close to my face. I contain your desire in this coffee bean. Clever of me, don't you think? I raised my eyebrows, feigning amazement. Go on, take it. If I take it, will you leave me alone? I suppose I must. I have a message to deliver. I held out my hand and he dropped the bean into it. Go on, eat it. As if I'm going to eat a bean that's been sitting in a crazy homeless guy's pocket. Who knew what kind of germs lurked in there? Maybe a few from the London sewer pipe. If I ate it, I'd get E. coli or dysentery, or a huge tapeworm. Go on. His wonderful, unidentifiable scent blew over me, spicy and flowery at the same time. But even the world's best scent can't kill E. coli germs. I pretended to pop the bean into my mouth, but I kept it in my hand. An old trick from childhood when Grandma Anna used to feed me cod liver oil capsules. While chewing air, I secretly slid the bean into my jeans pocket. Then I faked swallowed. Alley Guy scratched his head. Well, since I have no more business with you, I guess I should be leaving. Okay, goodbye. He collected his satchel and to my relief started up the steep hill. Farewell, he called, his kilt swaying with every step. Have a long and healthy life, Katrina Svensson. Along with the man reading the newspaper and the woman holding the grocery bag, I watched as he walked away. No doubt about it, that had been the strangest encounter of my life. "His eyes shine like the moon," the Hispanic woman said. Then she reached into her grocery bag and pulled out an enormous tin of coffee. She looked at the tin as if she'd never seen it before.